channel. So for over 30 years, Harry Houdini dazzled audiences with his different stunts and superhuman endurance. So what finally put him 6 feet under? The Hungarian-born escape artist jumped off bridges while handcuffed and wearing leg irons. He slithered out of sealed milk cans filled with water, and he devised a Chinese water torture cell in which he submerged and suspended upside down by his ankles. None of those did he. I guess he was able to get out and survive. So Houdini's heart-pounding getaways usually involve a healthy dose of trickery, and but they were also genuine risks. In 1915, Houdini nearly suffocated during a stunt in which he was shackled and buried under 6 feet of dirt. Houdini had made a career out of surviving the impossible, which only made the circumstances of his 1926 death all more mysterious. The 52-year-old performed before a packed audience in Detroit on October 24th, but was rushed to the hospital afterwards with an apparent case of appendicitis. He died just a week later on Halloween, leaving his legions of admirers bewildered. Okay, so an obituary in the New York Times expressed shock at the passing of the man who so often had seemed to thousands to be cheating the very jaws of death. And I want to talk about something else. So I've been to Detroit, and I don't remember anybody talking about Houdini there. And I think they should have had some of his cool, iconic stuff there. But I did see they had Houdini stuff in Las Vegas when I was in Vegas. So, I don't know why they don't have it set up in Detroit. So Houdini's final performance. The strange series of events that led to Houdini's demise had kicked off several weeks earlier on October 11th, 1926, while being shackled into his Chinese water torture cell during a performance in Albany, New York. So it says he was struck on the leg by a piece of faulty equipment. He hobbled his way through the rest of the show, but was later found to have sustained a fractured left ankle. Against doctors' orders, Houdini continued his torture and traveled to Montreal, where he gave a lecture at McGill University. Just a few days later, on October 22nd, he invited some McGill students to visit him in his dressing room at the Princess Theater. The magician's sore ankle was still bothering him, so he plopped down on a couch while the group chatted. At some point, a student named J. Gordon Whitehead arrived and asked Houdini if it was true that he could resist hard punches to his abdomen, a claim that the magician had supposedly made in public. According to witness Sam Smits, when Houdini said the rumors were true, Whitehead abruptly delivered 4 to 5 terribly, forcibly deliberate, well-directed blows to his stomach. Houdini was still reclined on the couch and had no time to prepare for the punches, which appeared to leave him in considerable pain. And now would be a good time to like the video and to subscribe to my channel. Do you like this new series? This is the Death series, and there will be more series to come and more episodes from the Death series as well. And do you like my prison series? And if you haven't checked out my prison series I created just for you, you can go ahead and check out my playlist. And there's also a love spell series that I think you will enjoy too checking out. Okay, so Houdini brushed off the incident at the time, but that same evening he began to complain of discomfort and stomach cramps. His condition only worsened the next day when he boarded an overnight train to Detroit for a new run of performances. The magician developed severe abdominal pain, cold sweats, and fatigue, and his temperature rose to 104 degrees. A doctor suspected appendicitis and instructed Houdini to go to a hospital, but the performer insisted on taking the stage for his opening night show at Garrick Theater. Isn't that really funny? He still wanted to work even though he wasn't doing so well. Okay, he proceeded to struggle through his routine before collapsing immediately after the final curtain. The show would be Houdini's last. The same night, he was taken to a Detroit hospital and prepared for surgery. Doctors successfully removed his appendix, which was found to have ruptured several days earlier, but it had already poisoned his insides. Despite a grim prognosis, the magician clung to life until October 31st, when he died with his wife Bess and his two brothers by his side. The official cause of Houdini's death was listed as peritonitis caused by a ruptured appendix. At the time, the magician's doctors firmly believed that the illness was the result of so I guess some guy had given him something backstage during an encounter in Montreal. Okay, so such cases of traumatic appendicitis are extraordinarily rare. One study found only a couple dozen instances over a nearly 20-year period, but in 1926 the diagnosis was widely accepted. Houdini's life insurance company was even forced to pay his wife a double for accidental death. Okay, so doubts arise over the escape artist's death. Houdini was laid to rest in Queens, New York. And this is what his little, I never knew that was where he is. Well, there he is right there. Okay, that was his tombstone. Okay, so look, maybe I can put that tombstone as the thumbtack, people. Okay, so Houdini was laid to rest in Queens on November 4th, 1926, but rumors about his unusual death have persisted ever since. Many of the theories tend to focus on the magician's contentious relationship with spiritualism, a pseudo-fed religion whose adherents once claimed it was possible to communicate with the dead through seances and mediums. Houdini, a born skeptic, had spent much of the 1920s on a mission to debunk the spiritualist claims and expose its top psychics as frauds. The Crusades earned him several $1 million worth of lawsuits and more than a few enemies, but at the time of his demise, he showed no signs of letting up. Just a few months earlier, he had testified in front of Congress in support of a bill to outlaw fortune-telling in Washington, D.C. Could Houdini's meddling have gotten him killed? In the 2006 biography, The Secret Life of Houdini, authors William Kalash and Larry Sloman contend that the magician's death may have been a carefully planned assassination by members of the spiritualist community. If one were to suspect Houdini a victim of foul play, they write, then the section of organization crime that was composed of fraudulent spirit mediums must be considered likely suspect. Okay, so Kalash and Sloman argue that the spiritualists had a history of poisoning their enemies, and they note that no autopsy was ever performed to confirm Houdini's death. I wonder why. So his death was actually caused by appendicitis. If someone were hell-bent on poisoning Houdini, it wouldn't have been very difficult, they concluded. Considerable debate has also focused on J. Gordon Whitehead, the McGill student who supposedly delivered the potentially fatal gut punches to Houdini's Montreal dressing room. In the 2005 book, The Man Who Killed Houdini, author Don Bell floated a theory that Whitehead may have been in league with the spiritualists, some of who had previously threatened to harm Houdini or have him beaten up. Bell concluded that there was not enough evidence to connect Whitehead to any kind of criminal plot, but others have argued that he was an enemy agent who stalked Houdini during the magician's time in Montreal. Okay, so was Houdini murdered? The true cause of Houdini's demise may never be known for sure, but the majority of scholars tend to dismiss the murder theories as mere speculation. For them, the more pressing question is whether Houdini's ruptured appendix had any connection to the stomach blows he received a few days earlier. Don't forget to like the video, and if you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. So while the evidence shows that such conditions is indeed possible, many consider it more likely that Whitehead's punches simply caused Houdini to ignore an already existing case of appendicitis. By the time the magician finally sought out treatment, the theory goes it was already too late. Interestingly, perhaps the most sought-after source for information about Houdini's death is none other than Houdini himself in what amounted to his ultimate test of the spiritualist's claims. The magician promised his wife Bess that he would try to communicate with her from beyond the grave. Bess went to hold an annual Houdini seance for 10 years before finally abandoning the search in 1936. Fans and fellow magicians have since made the seance a Halloween tradition, but thus far, the great Houdini's ghost has refused to speak. I wonder why. So I hope you guys enjoyed hearing about